Okay, so this paper is from this paper 2, data response, October November 2012. It's quite an old paper. 2012 is almost like 10 years ago, 8 years ago already. Okay, but the question that can come out nowadays is also still more or less the same, and the problem that students will have with answering this type of question will be also more or less the same. Okay, as in like they also face the same problem. Okay, so yeah, so this is paper 2 question data response. Okay, but then okay, you all did well for the sub question A, B and C, but the problem is actually with the question D here. Okay, the essay question. And then as I did mention before already, okay, that I will treat this paper 2 essay question the same as paper 1 essay question, even though okay it says there 20 marks, okay, but then we treat it as 25 marks anyway. It doesn't matter. Okay, right. Okay, so now let's just go through the question very fast. Okay, so the question reads, how can a court discover the intention of Parliament when applying a statute? Okay, so obviously, okay, from the keywords here, the statute and also the court. Okay, let me highlight it. Hold on. These two keywords here, or key phrases here, basically tell you that it is from the chapter statutory interpretation already. Okay, so this part, when you actually answer the question at the time, you got it right, no problem there. Okay, the second issue, okay, that you need to highlight is what's the question actually asking you to do. Okay, and of course the question asks you to discover the intention of Parliament. Right? Okay, so when I read your paper at the time, okay, I realized that you all treat it as a general question. It actually isn't a general question. Okay, it's because of this phrase here, intention of Parliament. Okay, so if you understand that chapter statutory interpretation, okay, you will know that the chapter is actually broken down into two major parts. The first one is, okay, I think I'm going to type it out here. Okay, the chapter, anyway, this one later I'll send to you all later, no worry. Okay, the chapter statutory interpretation, okay, is actually broken down into two parts, okay, which is the part regarding literal approach and purposive approach. Okay, right. So if the question is a general question, then of course you're supposed to talk about both. Okay, but if the question is asking you to focus on something in particular, like for example intention of Parliament, the topic of intention of Parliament, you can only find it in purposive approach. So when you were writing, right, okay, in your essay, okay, that you say that what are the literal rule, golden rule, mischief rule, and what another one is purposive approach. Okay, all these actually help to discover the intention of Parliament. It's actually completely wrong already. So if you see your paper, right, okay, I'm looking at, okay, can you see a Chinese paper? Okay, I hope you're okay with all sharing, looking at each other's paper. After all, we are just, you know, trying to help each other and all that. Okay, so you can see this paper, right, okay, it says to discover the intention of Parliament. Okay, I hope you can see the cursor. To discover the intention of Parliament, we should firstly identify the rules of interpretation due to they have provide many clues on the way to interpret the statute, which would help us to understand and discover intention of Parliament when passed the statute. Okay, this part here I say, okay, that it's not very accurate, but it's actually completely wrong already. Because why? Okay, like I say right, the whole thing about intention of Parliament, okay, is actually only in the purposive approach. Okay, the what do you call it, the literal approach and all that, right, okay, is actually only to apply the law as it is. Okay, they are not really trying to find the intention of Parliament, although you can say that the mischief rule is actually getting towards there, okay, but to say that the whole thing is to discover the intention of Parliament is actually wrong. Then like this one here, apparently he actually wrote this. Firstly, to discover Parliament's intention, literal rule gives all the words in a statute their ordinary, okay, No. Okay, I think you all misunderstand this whole thing, okay, about intention of parliament already. So if you have your textbook with you, right, okay, you should actually see the part, okay, where they are actually talking about the purposive approach. And then if you look at it closer, okay, you probably realize that it is only from that part onwards, okay, that this phrase here, okay, in parliament's intention or discover parliament's intention actually appear. So before that, right, okay, when you are actually doing the literal approach, okay, it doesn't actually appear at all. Okay, so please, okay, this is the first thing that you all need to take note of first. Okay, this is the first thing that you all need to take note of, that when it comes to finding intention of parliament, okay, discovering the intention of parliament, okay, it is definitely not the literal approach, it is only the purposive approach. Because after all, you can see the word here, purposive. Purposive means to find the purpose, okay, right? And how do you find the purpose of an act of parliament? Okay, by discovering the intention of parliament. Okay, literal approach is to just apply literally. Okay, and literally here simply means by the words used in parliament. Purposive approach, okay, is whereby they are going behind the act of parliament to find or discover the intention of parliament. Okay, all right. So usually this is how I explain to students, okay, that literal approach, okay, is still about the act of parliament. Okay, everything about the act of parliament. Actually, in fact, all the way until mischief rule, okay, it is still about the act of parliament. They still look at the act of parliament, the words used in the act of parliament, to actually apply a particular law in the particular case, whatever it is. Okay, but when it comes to the purposive approach, okay, it's actually all about trying to find the intention of parliament already. Okay, that is why, okay, you have Hansard lah, you have the things like external dictionaries and international convention and law reform reports and all those things. All those things, right, okay, got nothing to do with the act of parliament already. In fact, got almost nothing to do with parliament itself. Okay, so that is why. But then, okay, parliament actually use all these things, okay, all your hands out and everything like that, to actually make an act of parliament. Okay, so there is where, okay, the purposive approach is actually working, okay, to actually find the intention of parliament. All right, so this is the first thing that I want to let you all know first. Okay, I hope you are okay with this. Do you understand this thing? Do you understand my explanation? Do you need me to explain again anything? Are you okay with it?
Yes.
Yes. All right. Okay, so the next part is, okay, I want to just go through the marking scheme with you all first very fast. Okay, so I'll tell you what, we will just skip band 1, 2 and 3. Okay, nothing much. Okay, band 4 and 5 onwards. You can see here band 4 and 5. Very good discussion of statutory interpretation must include some critical analysis, which could include reference to Bennion and the purposive rule, and also the split of the roles between legislature and the judiciary. Okay, right, now the more important part is actually here. Okay, you can see our candidates should consider the role of parliament as the legislator and role of the judiciary as interpreter. Okay, a good answer will discuss why legislation requires interpretation. Okay, so this is the no-brainer part. Okay, the usual part which you already put in there, no problem there. The traditional use of literal rule limits the role of the judiciary, whereas the purposive rule gives the judiciary more freedom to interpret legislation. Okay, then candidates should consider what is the intention of parliament and how this can be discovered. Consider the use of other aids, and in particular the use of Hansard. So we need to definitely talk about Pepper versus Hart, other extrinsic aids and also intrinsic aids. So you can see the important part is actually here, right? The more important part actually is actually here, although the connection part is here okay, but the more important part is here. All right, where it is actually asking you to talk about the talk about the use of the purposive approach, and also how is it that it can be used to actually find the intention of Parliament. Okay, so so I hope that you're okay with this thing, understand this thing. Okay, actually, right, when I look at your paper, okay, I still give your marks. It's still fine. Okay, because you see, you still did answer the question, just that you didn't answer it accurately, that's all. Okay, right, because you definitely need to go through the first part here, as in need to talk about the 3 rules lah, and then it's a reference to Banyan, okay, stuff like that. Okay, which I think only one person actually talk about the Banyan thing. Okay, but doesn't matter, it's fine. Okay, just so happens that the marking scheme here say actually include this Banyan thing. Okay, and then somebody did put it, so it's fine. Okay, but the more important part is actually just here. And if this part here, okay, you don't actually give it enough attention, okay, then it will actually be, how to say, very bad for your answer. Okay, now just very fast, I'll just go through like one or two of your answers. Hold on, I need to switch again. Right, so we're looking at things one. Okay, your introduction is fine, no problem here. This is basically you're just talking about Acts of Parliament, statutory interpretation is fine to get the usual stuff. That's why I gave you all correct, no problem here. This part here, there's a small issue here, right? It's actually just the wording only, okay? It's not very accurate. Okay, for actual exam purposes, I'm not sure how exactly the examiner will actually take this thing, okay? But it is maybe not so obvious lah, okay, unlike one of the other papers where they literally say okay, that literal approach, literal rule, golden rule, mischief rule, all those also help to discover the intention of Parliament. Then the whole thing is definitely inaccurate already. Okay, then you go through, okay, all this thing, okay, Fisher and Bell, okay, how the literal rule, golden rule, mischief rule works. Okay, it's fine, but you know what, okay, too much is given to it already. Too much attention is given to it. Look at that. It's like one whole paragraph and another paragraph and another big huge paragraph. It's like 2 pages worth of it's like more than 2 pages worth of talking about the literal approach already. Okay, which is not very good. Okay, because you will be wasting time, and you won't have enough time to actually go to the actual thing, okay, that you should be talking about, okay, as in the focus of the question. Okay, then here, see, I put a big huge data here already. Okay, the 4 of these approaches, literal rule, golden rule, mischief rule, purposive approach, are used to discover the intention of Parliament, okay, when applying the statute. And then I say, oh no, this first statement is totally wrong already. Okay, so this is the obvious part, okay, where it is completely wrong. Okay, if you just and then worst thing is that you try to what do you call it, place, okay, these 3 rules here in the same category as the purpose approach. No, they're completely different. Okay, in fact they are like the opposites. Okay, that's why, right, it'll be good, okay, in the beginning itself, somewhere there that you actually did mention, okay, that when it comes to statutory interpretation, okay, you got 2 general approaches. Okay, first is the literal approach, and second is the purposive approach. Okay, unlike you put it down here, I'm not sure, maybe because this is how your textbook actually write it down, okay, because sometimes textbook, right, okay, they don't actually, like, I mean, they don't label it very well, you know. Okay, but then after that, okay, when they explain it at time, okay, they are actually talking about 2 different things. So now you have your textbook with you. Okay, I'm not sure whether or not your school teacher have actually told you about it before or not. Okay, but just to let you know, okay, literal rule, golden rule, mischief rule, okay, they are actually one category. In fact, the rules of language is also one category by itself. Okay, they are also considered as literal approach. Okay, because literature, everything to do with the written source. Okay, right, so that one is one category. Okay, then purposive approach, okay, is all about finding the purpose of the Act of Parliament, and you find the purpose of the Act of Parliament, okay, by actually going going, how to say, to find the intention of Parliament, to look at where is it the sources, okay, that Parliament has used to come up with that particular act of Parliament. All right. I hope that you are clear on that, huh? So yeah, so like I said, too much on all these things already. Okay, this thing here, data here, completely wrong. Okay, then this whole thing is actually still, let me see it again. Lord Berryman's case, this whole thing is still about literal rule. Okay, so that's why you can see from here onwards I didn't give you any more the tick already, okay, because it's like off already, okay. And then also, wow, you see all the way here, it's like you didn't even talk about the purposive approach at all, okay. And then suddenly you get to in a nutshell already. It's like, oh, what happened to the purposive approach? What happened to Hansard and all that? Okay, here you talk about it a little bit only, the Saint Magor thingy, that one, a naked usurpation, that's all. You didn't actually get into the crux of it, okay. So for this one, okay, this paper, okay, all right. Are you okay with this? Do you understand? Please respond by on your mic.
Yes.
Sorry, what?
Yes, I understand.
You're okay, huh? You got any question or not before I move on to the next one?
No.
I cannot hear anything. Something wrong with your mic. No, it's okay. Alright, we just very quick gonna look at one. Okay, so this one is paper, another paper. Same thing. Okay, start off okay. Okay, so this is also okay. Okay, about the literal approach. Okay, same thing is still talking about it too much. Okay, still talking about it too much. Okay, okay. See, too much already. Okay, too much already, I feel, because the question is about the purposive approach, not about the literal approach. So shouldn't talk about it too much. Okay, and finally here, this is like going to finish already, then only talk about the purposive approach. Okay, talk about purposive approach. Okay, case example. Okay, fine. Then after that here go into the rules of language already and presumption. This one lagi tak boleh. Okay, use them generis rule. And oh yeah, say apart from the 4 basic approaches. Okay, so like I say okay, right, there's only 2 major approaches: literal approach and purposive approach. Okay, right. Purposive approach is one category, literal approach is one category. And this whole thing, right, rules of language and presumption is you can actually put them in a separate category, or you can actually put them in the same category as literal approach. It's also fine, doesn't matter. Okay, but the most important thing is the purposive approach is very different from the rest, and of course it's much more controversial than the rest, because if you look at, for example, rules of language, right, rules of language, okay, it's still how to say, using the words in the Act of Parliament. Okay, so that is why to me okay, it is still categorized as under the literal approach, okay, and not the purposive approach. All right, but you can actually categorize it as like a you can put them in subcategories. It doesn't really matter. Okay, but now, okay, the problem that I'm having, that's why you see I don't put any tick, I don't even put any tata here also, okay, is because, okay, this whole thing here, let me see what else is this. Why not suddenly go back to the internal and external aids and all that? No. Okay, but this one here first. This thing here regarding rules of language, you can leave it out completely, or you can just a footnote only. Okay, the most important part is actually here, internal, external. Okay, so you did mention my Hansard. Just now the other paper I think didn't mention my Hansard at all, if not mistaken. Okay, all right. Yeah, but the thing is that you actually need to give much more emphasis on this part than the rest. You see, okay, the question is about the intention of Parliament, okay, purposive approach. But then, okay, your whole essay, okay, you see, from here, okay, this is like 1, 2, about 3 pages worth already, okay, of the literal approach. Then after here, yeah, sure, you mentioned a little bit about purposive approach, then here a little bit more. It's like not balanced already, you know. Okay, so that's why at the end of the day, right, okay, you can see I actually gave you like 14 or 15 marks, or 15 or 25 marks, something like that. Okay, in fact all of you also more or less got the same lah. Alright, so you can see lah, okay, what I've written here just very fast because I've written the same thing for everybody on. Okay, yeah, the question specifically asks to discover intention of parliament, and so its focus is mainly on the purposive approach. It's working and how it relates to discovering the intention of parliament, meaning that when you are actually talking about the Hansard and the Pepper and Hart and stuff like that, right, okay, you need to relate it back to the question itself. Okay, it's very important, okay, when you write an essay, okay, that somewhere in between, okay, right, or here and there, okay, you need to actually address the question again. Alright, otherwise, okay, you run out of the topic. Okay, and what else I wrote? Even if you want to talk about the 3 basic rules also, you need to do it briefly and discuss it in a way where it is like a prelude to the main discussion of the essay. Prelude meaning to say like a preliminary discussion, like a little something lah, okay, like your appetizer like that before you get to the main course, something like that. Okay, meaning i.e. concerning the purposive approach. Okay, and also later have to have some relevant connection to the purposive approach. Okay, for example, making some comparison, etc. Okay, so even if you want to talk about the 3 basic rules, okay, you need to make some comparisons or some relation to the purposive approach, but mostly just comparison, because you know the question is asking you to focus on, okay, the purposive approach. Okay, the next one is the part where you actually talk about the purposive approach and the discovery of the intention of parliament. Seems to only take up 20% of the overall content of the essay. In fact, all of you also more or less the same, which is actually very dangerous. Okay, so 20%. Okay, the reason why I say 20% is because see here a little bit and then here a little bit. Okay, I'm not sure who's on. Okay, some other people's on earlier I think got like 10% on it, which is even worse. Okay, now let's look at the next one. This one. Okay, so what is it? First, okay, same thing. Okay, introduction, no problem there. Same thing, although not like I said, okay, not very accurate. Okay, because say to discover intention of parliament. Okay, firstly they need to know the rules of interpretation. Not very accurate. Okay, right? Okay, here more or less the same. Here's where same thing. You're talking about the 3 rules. Okay, and then what is this? Oh, here is still the golden rule. Okay, so you can see mischief rule. Wow, see, it's like a lot. Okay, it's a lot. Okay, it's like almost 3 pages worth again. Then finally here you get to the purposive approach. Okay, yeah, purposive approach. Okay, purposive approach. Aids. Okay, you did use wait, I say not irrelevant. Why? Other than the few rules to interpret the meaning of the statute, there are also some aids interpretation which could also find meaning of statutes. Firstly, internal aids. It is stated that in here say not relevant is because you're basically talking about the what do you call it, the rules of language part. Okay, right, so I say it's not very relevant. Okay, it's just the same as the other one also. Okay, where you were talking about the rules of language, not very relevant. Okay, and most importantly, Hansard. Okay, just get to this part here is fine. Then so here, that's why I say I give a tick here. Davies and Johnson. Okay, alright. Okay, good. Right, so yours here is still okay lah. Alright, it's a little bit better. Okay, because at least you did talk about Hansard a little bit more. Okay, Pepper and Hart, David Johnson, all. But there's still the same problem still remains. Okay, is that it seems like you didn't give enough attention to what the question is asking you to focus on. Okay, you need to at least have like 40%, or like, okay, not 40%, 50% of the whole answer. Okay, just talking about the purposive approach and how it is used to find the intention of parliament. Okay, on this time a bit blur. Okay, so same thing. Okay, Banyan. Okay, same thing. No problem there. Okay, so yeah. Okay, here. Okay. So same thing lah. Okay, talking too much about it. Internal, external aids for certain. Okay, here where rules of language. Their rules of language not so accurate, even though they put a tick there. Wow. Okay, this is fine, but then where's the mention of purposive approach? Oh yeah, here, and you didn't really separate them properly. It's like you merge it together with the discussion of mischief rule. To me it doesn't look very nice lah. Okay, try not to do it lah. Okay, because it's a separate point. Okay, it's a separate point. Okay, when we talk about mischief rule and also the purposive approach. Okay, then okay. This one, like I say, also same thing. Okay, not much on the purposive approach, or at least not enough lah. All right. So generally, okay, I hope that you all here understand. Okay, what is the problem. Okay, before I give you like a bit of a skeleton answer, okay, do you have any question or not on whatever it is I said just now earlier? Do you understand what am I talking about or not?
Teacher, I want to ask the rules of language actually is not the internal aids, is it?
It's not the what?
It's not the internal aids.
No, it sort of is lah, actually. This is the first time I actually encounter students actually link it that way lah. But I think if you want to say that it is also an internal aid, also can actually, because inside the Act of Parliament itself, okay, they have they help the judges lah to understand, okay, what certain words mean and all that. Okay, all right. But actually, rules of language is like some guideline for the judges only, okay, but like the words, okay, that are used inside the Act of Parliament, like for example, okay, the example will be bricks, stones, mortar, and etc. and other similar things. Okay, what it means by other similar things, okay, you use the rules of language using general rule, I think, okay, in order to find out what it means by other things. Okay. But that whole phrase itself, okay, is actually inside the Act of Parliament only, right? Okay, and so therefore, okay, that is actually an internal aid lah, sort of lah. Understand or not? Okay, so I think you explain it that way, you make that connection, I think it's fine. It's just that I myself never really thought about it before, and also this is the first time that student actually came up with that thing lah. Okay, all right, and also this is the first time because I see you actually write an essay about the statutory interpretation, so that's why, yeah. Okay, does that answer your question?
Yes.
All right. Okay, anyone else have any question before I move on?
Teacher,
yeah,
when we discuss the case, do we have to discuss in detail or we just state it briefly?
Okay, because right, okay, this question, the focus is on discovery intention of Parliament, and so therefore it's about purposive approach. So when you were going through the literal approach, right, okay, it's supposed to be briefly only. Okay, that's why you can see. Okay, so you can see here, candidates should consider role of Parliament, legislator. Okay, nothing matter. Good answer will discuss why legislation. Okay, then nothing matter. Okay, the traditional use of literal rule limits. Okay. So this is like the part where you're actually talking about the three rules, okay, and also you link it back to maybe some of the problems or something like that. And because, okay, the question is not focusing so much on the three rules, but more towards the purposive approach. So therefore, the cases that you use, okay, definitely don't need to go through in detail. So you need to be a little bit more flexible, or not. Okay, you need to see, okay, if the question is asking you to focus on the particular thing, then if the case example is relevant to the particular thing, then sure, okay, you talk about it in detail. But then if it's just something for you to develop your answer only, then you no need to go through in detail. Okay, this thing, okay, regarding when to use cases, when to talk more about it, when to talk less about it, okay, will be even more relevant, okay, when you're actually doing the paper 3 and 4, okay, especially the problem based scenario question, okay, because when you go through the answer, okay, you also need to mention certain cases which are important to mention only because of its legal principle only, not because of the facts, okay. But then there are certain other parts of the answer, okay, where you need to use some other cases, okay, where you need to discuss or illustrate the case in detail. Why? Because that case is very relevant to the situation. Okay, so does this answer your question?
Yes.
All right. Okay, any other question before I move on? Okay, I assume there's nothing. Okay, so I'll move on now. Right, so what I'm going to do now is to just give you a breakdown, okay, of the skeletal answer, and also it's more towards the, you know, what how much attention, okay, you need to give to the certain parts of the essay lah. Okay, so firstly, introduction usually around like 5% only lah. Okay, then of course, okay, you get your the part where you talk about the SI. Okay, discuss SI in detail, meaning together with the problems lah. Okay, alright, so this one maybe 10%. Okay, I might change it later. I'm just giving a rough thing first. Okay, meaning this is the part where you're actually talking about like the reason, the explanation, and the use of SI. Okay, and also whereby you intro the approaches briefly, something like that. Okay, then after that you get your okay, fine, the 3 rules. Okay, right, this one maybe another, okay, fine, like 15%. Okay, a little bit more. Okay, so now you get like 30% already. Okay, so the 3 rules are 3 rules, and again same thing, briefly only, and not too much detail. Okay, alright, especially, you know, no need use more than one case. Okay, use one case to explain one rule should be fine already. Okay, right, so yeah, one case, one rule. Okay, something like that. Okay, then after that you get into the purposive approach. Okay, so this whole thing will be well, like I said, the whole thing will be 40% now. Okay, average lah. Okay, so let me just put it 20% first. 20% is where you are like talking about okay, the reason, okay, the reason, the arguments for and against, whereby you use the what are the Lord Denning, Lord Simon, that part there lah. Okay, right, arguments for and against, purposive approach, okay, reason, okay, yeah, okay, yeah, something like that. Okay, then you go into the intrinsic and extrinsic aids. Okay, alright. Oh yeah, one more thing also, this thing you definitely need to mention about, okay, need to relate to the focus of the question concerning the discovery of the intention of Parliament. Okay, right, purposive approach, like I say lah. Okay, the whole idea about purposive approach is to find the intention of Parliament. Okay, right, so then after that you go to the intrinsic, extrinsic aids. So usually for intrinsic aids, wait, sorry, so this whole thing is 20%, right? Okay, So intrinsic aids, nothing much. Okay, just briefly should be fine already. More importantly is the extrinsic aids. Okay, you're not take down anything, I'll send this thing to you all later lah. Okay, more importantly is the extrinsic aids. So this is the part where you need to talk about things like the Hansard, Pepper versus Hart, things like the international convention, regulation, law reform, reports, stuff like that. Okay, and of course same thing here, need to relate it to the discovery of the intention of Parliament, right? Okay, so important thing is you need to actually relate it back to the question so that you do not run out of topic. Okay, and then you notice I didn't even talk about the rules of language thing. Even if you want to put it, okay, you can probably put it like here. Okay, then it's fine. Okay, so 20 40 here got 30%, so I guess there's still conclusion, right? Conclusion is another 5%, so I need to cut down this one to 15%. Okay, the reason why I cut down this one here instead of this one here is because this part here is more important and more has more relation to the question, okay, regarding the discovery intention of Parliament, because this is the part where you actually go through the especially the extrinsic aids. Okay, right, the extrinsic aids is the defining part, okay, which actually helps judges to find the intention of Parliament. Okay, so it should be around there lah. Okay, right?
Okay.
Okay. Okay, if I want to break this thing down, so extrinsic aids should be more lah. No, 30%, and then intrinsic aids should be 15%, right? Right, 30, 40, yeah. So meaning more attention should be given to extrinsic aids than intrinsic aids. Okay, alright. Okay, if there's no problem, then I think it should be okay. You all can try and rewrite the whole thing again and then send it over. Are you okay with that?
Yes.
Alright, you all can just try and do that on your own. Okay, then I'll have a mark and then I'll mark it again.